Have you ever heard someone say, "My thoughts and prayers are with you," or something like that? Whatever does that mean? Do people who say that mean they are heading off to the nearest church or wherever to talk to God about you, while wondering how you are and thinking happy thoughts about you all the way there and back? No? My name is Ian Currey, and this is Thinking Out Loud. Come on, let me tell you what I think. I love night photography, especially when there is very little light around. Once things get dark and are lit poorly, taking pictures of them gets very interesting and much more challenging than in the daytime. Several things change from just getting out your camera and snapping away in the sunshine. First, you have to hold the camera very still indeed. Doing that usually means a heavy tripod has to come along with you. Then the camera has to collect what little light there is for much longer to make a picture able to be seen properly. And then, because the camera takes so long to collect enough light, you have to make sure things aren't moving around in the picture. Running water will look like mist. Moving people and vehicles will blur or not be seen at all. And lights that move will create streaks in the image. The water in the Thames there looks smooth and calm, and the streaks of light on the canal, they're from a passing boat. Now you can see the lights, but not the boat that passed right by while the picture was being taken. Night photography interests me, I think, because it's harder to get right. You have to think about what you're doing. This picture of St. Paul's Cathedral, of course, is taken in the daytime. It didn't take much effort at all, but you'd hardly say it was outstanding. The same day I took this picture, I decided to take a night picture of the same building. I waited for the sun to go down and returned to the same spot. But the same lamppost I'd leaned on to take the daytime picture spoiled the scene at night with its ugly orange hue. It was a long walk to the other side of the river where I knew there would be a spot where St. Paul's would be shown off against the London night skyline. The tripod came along and off we went to set up for the perfect picture. I suppose what intrigues me is that things that you might not notice in the daytime pop out at night. Now, you'd never know in the daytime where those lights would shine or what the key things are that you would notice. You really have to go there to see what you will see. Being there and seeing what's popping out of the dark makes it very easy. But in the daytime, when everything is normal and just looks like a postcard, you'd never know. People are just like that too. Some of the most uninteresting people and places come alive when you give them time to shine in a different light. Recently, I had to attend a meeting. I knew some of the people who would be there and really didn't want to go. Now, I get along with most people easily enough, but sometimes, well, there are a few people who just rub me the wrong way. Why can't they be nice? Why do they always have to see the negative side of things? Can't they smile just once in a while? And even if they are right, do they have to be so nasty about it? Off I went to the meeting. As the group explored things we were all dealing with regularly, the leader of the meeting broke us up into smaller groups. And of course, I was in the group with those people. We finished our task very quickly and efficiently, and so I dove in and asked a few questions to try and make conversation. At first I got the usual dark responses with just robotic and uninteresting answers. But after a while I noticed details were starting to come out about the person's life I could never have known. Yeah, I've got to get that day off again so I can take my mum to her appointment. And then my aunt is acting up again, in and out of trouble, and all because her addiction isn't under control. And if I'm not home on time again, I'll have to find another childminder. I can't keep this up. Wow. The longer I listened, and the longer I kept my mouth still, just like that camera on a sturdy tripod, the more of the picture I was starting to see. Things were really tough for this person. Their life really wasn't giving them much to smile about. And interactions with other people were at best short and to the point. No time in that busy mind to think of nice ways to say things. No processing power left over for anyone other than coping with the situations consuming them. Thoughts and prayers would certainly not have been the right thing to say at that point. But now at least I understood better why this person appeared to be so grumpy. Instead of saying anything directly, right there, right then, I drove home thinking and praying for them. Now what did that look like? Thoughts and prayers. I thought of all I had learned, each detail of the messed up story of a life I'd just learned about. And as each detail came back to my mind, I asked God to sort it out. God, I don't have any answers to this, but you know how to help them out. Please do. Give them strength to deal with things and patience to endure the onslaught of things they're going through. And then something interesting happened. I started thinking about how I reacted to them. How did I respond when I was around them? Do you remember I said I didn't want to attend that meeting? Well, the last part of my drive, I had another conversation with God. God, please help me to react well around people I don't like, to see the light shining from them in the darkness, and to understand that capturing where they are and appreciating that may mean a long walk with a heavy tripod. Claiming to be a Jesus follower isn't something you can do part-time. When Jesus heads off in a particular direction that you don't like, either you follow or you don't. Don't, and you can't really call yourself a Jesus follower, now can you? I say, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. In that way, you will be acting as true children of your Father in heaven. If you love only those who love you, what reward is there for that? If you are kind only to your friends, how are you different from anyone else? That Sermon on the Mount that Jesus is so famous for has a bit of a sting in its tail sometimes, doesn't it? This week I'm planning another trip to take some more pictures. I'll be thinking as I set up the tripod about what my enemy said to me at the end of that meeting. Thank you for listening to me. Not many people do. I know I can be grumpy sometimes, but thank you for being kind. Ooh, ouch. Until next time, goodbye.